All right, so the Colorado Avalanche get some much-needed home cooking and get a much-needed win, but it did not come easy. And why would it against the Arizona Coyotes? All right, new episode of Locked On Avalanche coming at you.
Your Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Chris Maselli. With me, as always, Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. Thank you for tuning in, making it your first listen of the day. Always appreciated. Make sure you're following us on social media outlets, LOPN_Avalanche on Twitter X, Locked On Avalanche on Instagram and Threads. Questions, comments, concerns, opinions, lockedonavalanche@gmail.com. Follow us on our YouTube channel. Hit subscribe. Get notified when a new show goes live, and make sure you subscribe to our subtext as well. Link to that's in the show notes below. When you do, we chat with Kyle and I one-on-one, become a very special insider, and we share your opinions and thoughts on everything Avalanche on this very podcast. And I think you do get like a month free of that as well when you sign up. So nothing to lose there, folks. Go ahead.
Not a single thing.
No. All right. Avs back in action after that forgettable road trip, and they get back on home ice where they are. It's one of the things they're doing well this year, and they get the win. It was like I said in the beginning, did not come easy. It was a struggle. It usually is for some reason. We've been saying that for the past couple of years against the Arizona Coyotes. They put up a fight. Arizona's a scrappy team, and they are in a rut right now as well. So you had two teams, Avalanche obviously coming off of that road trip, Arizona just losing, I think 8 in a row they had lost heading into this one. So they wanted to stop that. So you knew you were going to get their best from them regardless. And it was a back and forth game. It was a weird game. We'll get into a lot of like the penalties and the challenges. And it was just a weird game that had not a lot of like flow to it in the middle stages. But the Avs, they pull it out and win this thing 4-3. So they get a much needed 2 points.
Exactly.
The game of it. So that's it. Yeah.
Because looking at my schedule I have at work, I look at the schedule and I mark green for wins and pink for losses. And there's been a lot of pink lately. And it's annoying. And it's to get 2 points and a win. This is what you want and something to build off of, but we'll get to it. There's a lot to work on still, especially when we start breaking down the stats. And it was not the greatest start. And
well, I thought the start was okay because Colton got on the board first. Like that's what you needed.
Well,
I mean, your home crowd is going to be into it. You know that they're going to try to, get you over that hump. And Colton scores first, and you're feeling good. And and then the game begins, and then it's a chess match, and it's back and forth, and it was a good hockey game. It was fun. Yeah. Like I think as an Avalanche fan, you wanted it to be that. All right, we're back on home ice. Let's just bury them. Let's not have this thing in doubt at all. Let's just get a win so we can just get back in the win column. And in the end, you did, and that's all that really matters. But how you got there was a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah, especially because I sat there and I wanted to win so bad. It's just one of those nights where everything lined up perfectly, where I could sit down and watch this game. And the game starts and they put up the infographic, and Georgiev, something about his picture, he's not even looking at the camera. And I'm like, he's not even paying attention to the camera.
Yeah.
And so I'm like nitpicking him all through this first game. Those first 2 goals he wasn't even looking at. It was just bad beats. I was like, it's going to be one of those games. And it was. And then the Avs, it's one of those games that they didn't let, and we're going to get to everything that happened, but they didn't let that bother them. Nathan MacKinnon's face, I don't think his face is going to make it to the trade deadline. It is the most beat up thing in hockey right now. It's like for that not to derail the game and Nathan MacKinnon's production, and it didn't take him out of the game. Ryjo looked a little bit better when it came to like face-offs and stuff, but that's it. You like you mentioned, Ross Colton getting things started. Taser lasers are back. Like little things are working, and you're continuing the home streak. You're you're first in everything when it comes to playing at home, which is what you need. And it's what this team needs right now. Like we talked about building camaraderie on the road, didn't happen, went south. They're home. This is where they play hockey. And hopefully they can start stringing together wins because you play Vancouver. It's a huge test, but you have Vancouver coming up. This is what you want to do working towards a bigger test.
Yeah, he said he didn't let it get to them. And I think, that is, it's a little bit easier to not let things get to you where, you lose a lead or you lose or you gain and then you gain the lead and then you lose it on a challenge, whatever. And not let that get to you when you are on home ice. That's where home ice keeps you afloat, right? You have the fans are going to be behind you unless you lay a complete dud. So I just think it was a different frame of mind for the Avalanche just to keep fighting in this game, and it was a back and forth. But the first got a little bit out of hand with all of the penalties. I didn't like some of the penalties that were called. I thought it's weird. Like we like to jump on the refs. Not I think that you and I do a good job of not putting everything on the refs.
Yeah.
I thought they did the best. Like it was a challenging game for them. But I didn't like some of the calls that they made on the Avs, and I didn't like some of the calls that they just completely ignored. That was like, okay, if that's a precedent you're setting, especially the Mikko one on Dumba that they called interference. Okay, if you're gonna call that, like there was 3 or 4 of them on the other end that they just completely ignored. And I thought it was just one of those games where it wasn't consistent on what you're calling. And, but having said that, they did, the Avalanche had their opportunities. And that's why I'm not getting like so up in arms over the refs about this leading one way or another and favoring one team or another, because, the Avs had a 4-minute minor where they didn't score on it, but I thought it looked good. You know what I mean? Like it did. Like they did basically everything except score. So it was just a game that had in the beginning stages very little flow to it. And I thought as the third period went on, it got a little bit better. And for the Avs, a game that was, man, you felt so good because you're finally back at home, and look up the score is 3-3.
Yeah.
So this thing is not in the bag, and Arizona had the lead, and then we'll get into the challenging stuff in a minute. But again, like we kind of talk a lot about, you have a good feeling, even though the game is close, even though the Avalanche are playing well. I thought they played a good hard game. But they're in a position right now where nothing is guaranteed. So there's that moment where it's like, okay, even though this game is tied in the past, like I said, we've talked about it before, where it's like, you still feel good. You still feel good they can pull this thing out. Where things are right now for the Avs, it's like, I hope that they can pull this thing out because it is not guaranteed. How are you feeling kind of in the later stages of this game?
Yeah, and to follow up on those 2 quick points right there, that interference from Mikko, you could take it either way, but in the heat of the moment, it's undisciplined, and I don't want to see that from Mikko anymore. Like
He
I want
was
to see him.
frustrated.
Yeah, I want to see that cleaned up, because at that moment you were talking about feeling good and not feeling out of it. It's one of those moments that that could flip the game. And we talk about like the little minute moments in a game that could completely change the course of the game. Mikko being frustrated and doing things like that, that could be one of those that turn the game. And also to your power play, they did that weird little setup. I don't like early in the game and never went back to it ever again, where they passed it really quickly to Ryjo sitting down in Landy's office. It was like a pinball. I've never seen them do that before. It was like quick little passes, and it started working, and they never revisited it. So something works. We'll see it again, maybe at game 81. But the rest of the game going on, it started to clean up a little bit, and it was 4-3 for both teams 3 or 4 times in this game. And it's one of those that it didn't take the wind out of anybody's sails. They kept pushing. And yes, there were a little bit of like after the whistle fighting, but nobody let the game, like nobody decided to like start headhunting or make amends
Mhm.
or like carry beefs. And I think the Avalanche, like especially towards the third, played a really good brand of hockey that I really want to see going forward, especially if the power play starts working. But
Yeah.
I like the end of the game a whole lot better than I did that first period, because that first period I was extremely frustrated with everything I saw.
You mentioned the power play, and quickly, before we get into our first break, I watched the Oilers play
Mm,
over the weekend, and that power play is it, it's not a pun. It's a well-oiled machine. Like they don't stop moving, and
yeah,
it's not that they're moving, from one side of this to the other. In their zone, they are constantly circling. They are not stagnant, and the Avalanche were the total opposite.
yeah,
Like Nathan MacKinnon, as great as he is on the power play, he does the Ovechkin, just that's his spot. He doesn't move. Mikko Rantanen, same thing on the other end. He doesn't move. The only ones that are really moving are Cale Makar and whoever is kind of in the net front. If it's Lehkonen, if it's Johansson, whoever it is. But they don't go to those guys. Those guys are there to
yeah,
clean up everything. And when you watch the Oilers do it, it's just while they're still in their zone, that just gives the defenders, they have to constantly look back and see where they are.
yeah,
And that gives whoever's with the puck that split second to either fire it on net or fire a pass. And when you're not moving, when you're just standing there, they don't have to look because they
yep.
know you're not going anywhere. So you saw, like, you could tell that it was something that they worked on. And while they didn't, I mean, did they even get one? Did they have
They
a,
got
a
one.
goal? They did
Oh
get
no, the
the
Avalanche did not.
they
No.
didn't, yeah, but, I mean, 0 for 4, not what you wanna see, but the way that it was running, I was much more pleased with.
Yeah.
So, all right, more to get to with this game, obviously. We have, our subtext people chiming in, and, of course, our sound check, and we'll get to all of that coming up. First, let's hear from Camino Consulting. And how would you like to get to know someone better in an hour than you would in a year? Understanding one another better prevents small misunderstandings from becoming big ongoing fights. After providing more than 20 years of service to small and mid-sized businesses, helping management groups navigate conflict and onboarding new employees, Camino is offering a digital seminar for families and couples. So, did your Valentine's gift of tickets to the game not go over as well as you had hoped? Get the couples and family online seminar for 25% off for the month of February using the discount code Locked On. So, again, that is the discount code called Locked On for 25% off for the rest of the month of February at CaminoConsulting.ca, or mention Locked On when reaching out for a business seminar, and receive the first 5 profiles for free. That is CaminoConsulting.ca. And that promo code, once again, is Locked On. All right. So getting back to the game with the Avalanche and the Coyotes. Avalanche win this one, get a much needed 2 points. Some players that I felt did extremely well. Got to throw out Jack Johnson. I
Oh my
thought Jack
word.
Johnson played a great game defensively, which that's all you can really ask for him. But when he throws in some offense, that's just cherry on the top. And the goal he had, I just talked about the Edmonton Oilers. That was Connor McDavid like. That was Nathan MacKinnon like.
Yeah.
And it was so funny when you watch the replay. He's just swinging around from the left to the right, and everybody on Arizona was just like, we'll give him space. He's not gonna go anywhere. And then he
Yeah.
just has more time and space and gets closer and closer, and nobody closes in on him. So he's just like, I'm gonna fire this thing. And that was a rocket. Beautiful goal by Jack Johnson. I thought he played great.
Yeah, it was a no doubter, and it's one of those where it's kind of like old man Johnson gets out there and he's like, if you guys aren't going to do it, and he just does it with like just no chill. He just gets out there, does it,
Mm-hmm.
takes his celly and goes home. It was a beautiful goal. I've enjoyed Jack Johnson's play this year.
He's been good. Oddly enough, Cale Makar, 27 minutes on the ice, ho hum there. That's kind of his norm. No points again. I believe that's 5 games in a row where he has he not registered a single point, I think, in 5 games. I know he hasn't got a goal, but man, if he hasn't got, I think it's 5 games. That if you want to check that,
I'm
feel
working on
free.
it right now.
But even having said that, like how we were talking about the power play and how that looked a lot better, even though they had nothing to show for it, you can kind of take that same talking point and apply it to Cale Makar in this game. I thought he played a lot better. He was aggressive. He was firing pucks on net during the power play. He wasn't taking chances. He wasn't making that extra pass. If he had a lane, even the slimmest of lanes, he was taking it. So he was much more aggressive, and you like that's his game, especially on the offensive end. That's his game. So while he didn't have anything to show for it stat wise, defensively, I thought he was okay. I think there's still some mistakes that you're seeing from that top defensive pairing, which is odd. But I thought it was a better game than the last game that he played, which maybe was the worst game he's had this year.
Yeah, and you're correct. Cale Makar has not recorded a point in 5 games. The last game he recorded a point was the New Jersey Devils game on February 6th,
Wow.
which ironically enough was his last game that he got over 5 shots, and he got 6 in this game. So he's working back to something, but yes, he's offensively not there, but again, he's a defenseman, so he's cleaning that up a little bit. He has had some serious lapses where I kind of scratch my head. And thankfully, Devontae's he's looked better, and it's taken the spotlight away from Cale a little bit. It's weird that you can go through a game and forget Cale Makar is in it, and you wondered if he was injured, but he's still in it. So he's logging 27 minutes. That's norm, but I'd like to see him pick it up a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. So what was the other one I was gonna bring? Where was it here? I had somebody that I was gonna bring up. I can't remember exactly what it was this second, but I thought where the game kind of was going back and forth was these challenges. And so you had Alex Kerfoot score a goal, and that put the Arizona Coyotes up 4-3. And then Jared Bednar challenges it. Long challenge. That was one of the longer challenge time frame wise for them to review this that I've seen, and they overturn it. No goal. Maybe 30 seconds later, the Avalanche score, and Arizona challenges that, and that one takes about 10 seconds because Mikko Rantanen definitely was offsides. So that one gets reversed. So for you are back and forth. Like the range of emotions there, being a fan of either of these teams is off the charts. You're ping ponging, going everywhere because if you're, from the Avalanche standpoint, you go down, and it's in the third. You're like, here we go. This is where things fall apart, and then it gets overturned. Phew, you avoided that one, and then you turn right around and make them pay for it, and that gets overturned, and you're like, I have no idea where this game is going. Speak on that like minute of these challenges here.
It was pure chaos, and wherever Gabe Landeskog and Matt Duchene are sitting, for some reason the wind blew and they get nostalgic for their time with the Avalanche with all these reviews that were going on. But it was the Mikko one. It goes back to what we were talking about earlier. It was kind of lazy, and he knew it, and he could have got caught earlier in that period as well. It was very blatant offsides, and if anything would have happened on that play, it would have been called back. That would have been before the Hail Mary. I have no idea what that was. That was crazy. And for it to go that long, I don't know if they could see where the puck actually was. I don't know what they were trying to track, but it was going on forever. So I thought something else was amiss. And I kept looking so deep into that replay. I've never watched a replay so many times in my life, but my goodness, at least they got it right. And
you think so?
I do.
You think so? Like it's I'm of the mind on that where it's like, God, like for them to take that long, I was thinking they're not going to find any. They're not going to be able to find it. If it's taking this long, it's just going to be one of those don't have conclusive evidence. And I'm trying, and again, maybe they have a view that Altitude didn't show, but the one that the best one that Altitude had was one right down the line.
Yeah.
And you can't, like, the puck looks just like a UFO.
Yeah.
And it, because of who's sitting on the bench for the Avalanche, you can kind of spot where it is. And maybe Maybe he was offsides, but by the absolute slimmest of margins. And I always go back to the Gabe Landeskog one against the San Jose Sharks. That's completely different because my argument with that one was Gabe Landeskog's not even in the play. He's leaving the play. And Kerfoot is obviously in this play. He is the player that is scoring the goal. So it's different. But man, like that is just a grass blade of offsides, and it's if you're a Coyote fan, I don't think you're happy about that one.
Well, I honestly, I think they kind of went back because if you're not looking down the line, if you're looking at the play in live, live game speed, you see him almost to the dot turn around and kind of cradle the puck back in front of him. So all of that just looks terrible and offsides. And I feel like when they're looking down, they're trying to find the exact moment of crossing and the puck, because if all the other camera shots, you're like, this is clearly wrong and a miss and offsides, but we're trying to find the exact moment when it happened, because usually you're making that call on the ice, and it's like when a puck goes in the air, hockey players have no idea what to do with it because they don't react to pucks in the air, and it's the same with referees. They don't know how to track, so they were looking, and I feel like that's what took so long. And I feel like they got it right, and it's one of those that Arizona fans, if you're trying to say this call was right, you're doing a lot of John Madden telestrating on where he was and at what time and what justifies offsides.
It's tough. That's a tough one to deal with if you're a Coyote fan, if you ask me. And the Miko one was clearly off. Now the MacKinnon one where they did get the goal, that was on the Taves goal. Fantastic work by him. He's going behind the net. And I don't know who it was in the Coyotes that's going to check him, and he kind of jumps and avoids the check. In doing so, keeps the puck in possession of the puck, passes to, I think it was Miko, who then passes to Taves for the goal. That was beautiful. That was absolutely beautiful, and that's kind of what got the Avalanche going in the third. That was a great play.
And you go all the way before that, Nathan MacKinnon, where he's pounding and pounding and pounding on the puck. I believe they went to review that one as well.
And that one too, yes.
Yeah, and Nathan not giving up on that. That's and for everything that face has been through, for that brain to keep on going till the whistle. That's why Nathan MacKinnon, I'm telling you, he's an athlete.
Beautiful. And the last one I do want to mention is Miles Wood. I thought, and it's one of those things that don't show up. So the Avs commit a penalty with just like 2 minutes left. Miko, I think it's Miko who was it? Miko who committed that last penalty. I got it here. I can't remember who the heck it was. It's right in my, like I said, we're recording this a few seconds right after the game. Lehkonen did. Lehkonen with a trip on Schmaltz, right? So they have the power play and they pull the goalie. So now it's a 6-on-4. Avs, and there's maybe like 30 seconds left where Avs clear the puck. It's going down towards the net. It's going to miss it. And Miles Wood is there. And he knows that, I thought it was great awareness by him. He knows that he can't catch up to the puck enough before the net to put home the empty netter. So it goes behind the net. And so many times, like when there's an empty net, I think that the thought process by anybody is just like, score a goal. If you have an opportunity, score a goal clearly. He didn't do that. He stayed with the puck that goes behind the net, and he just pins it up against the board and kills time. Yep. And he didn't try to force anything, to force it back around to the front of the net or make an errant pass or even just do it himself, because he's going to have 3 Coyotes guys on him, which is going to make it very difficult to score that goal. Probably turn it over, back go the Coyotes. It could have just been a disaster in so many different ways, and he didn't do that. He just stayed with the puck and pinned it up against the boards, killed another 10 or 12 seconds, and now the Coyotes had like 10 or 12 seconds to get back up the ice, and the game was over. I thought that was a very good, smart, heady play by Miles Wood just to end the game. Don't worry about the empty net goal, and let's get the 2 points. 2 thumbs up to Miles Wood for doing that.
On top of all the emotion and all the reviews and everything up to that point, that was very smart.
Excellent.
And to wrap up the to wrap up all that, it's 2024. You're listening to this on February 19th, 2024. Chris Wagner was a +1 on the Colorado Avalanche.
Hey, good job. Good job, Wag. All right. All right, let's get our last break in. We'll get to our subtext people and then our sound check. We'll do that right after this. All right, let's hear from Sleeper. We continue to scour the internet to try to find a better daily fantasy sports app or network. Kyle, any luck yet?
No, zero.
Still
no.
nothing. Still nothing. So, regardless of where you are in the current standings, we want to remind you that you could win big by playing daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper, the official daily fantasy app of the Locked On NHL Network. And Sleeper is our #1 choice for daily fantasy sports, especially daily fantasy hockey. Because with Sleeper, you can win 100 times your cash in daily fantasy hockey contests. Mr. Sullivan, you were right on the money last time we did this with Arturi Lehkonen in his 4-point game. Who do you got for this one Tuesday against Vancouver? This is a big one, sir.
It's a big one, and it's also Grateful Dead night, so I'm really taking a stretch for this one.
Okay.
Bo Byram strikes me as a deadhead, so let's go Bo Byram.
He does, doesn't he? He has that kind of
He's got that vibe.
His way about him, and he's been playing pretty good too. He's been playing some very good hockey lately. So use the promo code Locked On NHL, and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That code again is Locked On NHL. See Sleeper's terms of use for details and locational availability. But we should talk about Bo Byram more because he's been playing very good.
Yep.
He's been really turning it around. And I checked quickly after the game. Jared Bednar made some comments, and he said that, he's been working with the coaching staff, and they really kind of like looked over some video and kind of broke down where the improvements need to be made. And since then, it's been a couple games, but you can see the improvement. So hopefully that sticks. So go ahead. Sorry.
And especially against Vancouver, you really need to get them. You need to be, and it doesn't get easier. You got Dallas coming up too, so
Absolutely.
You got to get going.
Absolutely. All right, let's get to some subtext comments on this game. We got Vargar. Says a win is a win, but I think I'm out on Georgiev. I'm really doubting if he can backstop a cup winner. I'll be nice and say Rajo doesn't fit, and they need to make a move sooner than later for a 2C. I'm a broken record at this point. So I think like we've said this before, the things that the Avalanche need and need to address hasn't really changed. Has not really changed. It's the 2C. It's a backup goalie, but are people starting to incorporate a starting goalie in this whole conversation? Kyle's raising his hand.
I am now in that camp. I'm now
bad in this game though. I like
that was 2 goals on 6 shots at that point. And again, these are bad beats. Like he's getting there was one that went to the top of the post and out that he was like ducking away from, and I'm like, Yorgi, what are you doing? You're a goalie. Like there's so many shots that he's going the wrong way. The second goal, he was taking a move to the right and it went in on his left. Like the first goal, they're bad beats now. It's steadily getting worse. And when you're looking at the fundamentals of sliding around and positioning, and he's got the yips. You could see it in like how he reacts and everything. It's just not good. So I am now in that camp that yes, he could get you through, but I have zero confidence.
It's weird because like I don't feel, and again, I'm not, never played the position, but I don't feel like he's out of position. I just feel like he doubts himself with either his catching glove or his blocker. He doesn't have faith in it. So his positioning is fine. And even on there was one goal, I think it was the second one, where he just got beat. And those are goals that you just feel like I wish we had a goalie that could make those saves. The first one, that was a difficult one. It was on a rebound, and I thought the Avs were in good position to clear it. They just didn't clear it, and I think it was Matt Dumba who was there that just had a rebound. Those ones are going to happen. I can't sit. I don't want to sit here and we could micromanage every single goal that is scored on him and go frame by frame and pick apart where he or the defense should have been. What it's a fast game. It's a fast game, and sometimes you can't stop pucks going in the net. And I thought that first one, I can forgive goals like that. But we're talking about the Kerfoot one that luckily got called back. But let's talk about how the goal was scored, regardless of it being called back or not. Ones like that, you want to say like, "Hey, man, we could use a stop here."
The 5-hole is
I don't know.
his big time Achilles heel. His 5-hole is atrocious.
Yeah. We'll see where they go with it. Madam Battle Axe, she was only able to catch the third period, but she said, "I don't understand why we have such issues with Arizona. We are not equal, but every time we play them, we change our strategy down to them." I don't know. Usually, you know what? A lot of times she's right. The Avalanche have been known to play down to their opponent. I thought in this game, the Avalanche put in that full 60. I really did. I thought they played a very good game from beginning to end. Arizona's just better than they have been in the past few years, even though they're in a rut right now. It's a better team. It's a better team, but still the Avalanche struggle with them, and it's kind of a mystery.
See, that's the thing, because the Arizona Coyotes don't have an identity. They're just an amalgamation of talent. Everybody else has a method of their madness and how they come in. You know what to expect. With Arizona, you have no idea how they're going to get you, and that's what confuses the Avs so much.
Yeah. She goes on, "I'm glad we took the 2 points, but man, did we work hard to get it. I hope the Avs see that the Canucks are not Arizona, and they sure aren't the Capitals. Better bring the A game. And what was with that offsides?" Talking about Mikko. "Drag a toe, man."
He's got to wake up.
I know. And then lastly, Easton, Ross Colton with a comeback game after Tampa, and him being scrappy in the end. There was good amount of this was a good division game and some good scraps and scrums after stoppages and stuff like that. And I think they did call Colton and Krause, I think, at the end. It was almost like I don't think they needed to, but it was almost like just both you guys go to your room for 2 minutes. But I liked it. I liked the pace of this game. I liked the back and forth. I like the divisional animosity going on. All in all, I thought it was an entertaining game.
I think playing against his former team fired up Ross Colton. I think it really got him. It was a little humbling and embarrassing, and because at the time you think going to Colorado is a step up. Like, okay, let's go. They beat us. This is the new king, and you play them and you look worse. So I think that woke him up a little bit.
Could be. All right. Last bit of business. That's our Locked On Avalanche sound check. Kyle and I pick a song that we feel best summarizes the most recent game. Put these songs up on a playlist over on Spotify, which you can follow. Just search LOA Soundcheck Volume Number 3. What do you got here, sir? Avs and Coyotes.
This song comes from my all-time favorite rock, my first time all-time favorite rock band. This is at time of recording 44 years ago. We lost Bon Scott. So this will be Dog Eat Dog. The Desert Dogs came out and tried to take some bites out of Nate Dogg's face. It did not happen. We got the 2 points, and they tuck their tails and go back to Arizona. Dog Eat Dog.
Very nice. I love it. I love that. I'm going to go with some Guns N' Roses on this one, and from the much maligned Chinese Democracy album, which I love. I think it's not their best, obviously, but there's so much story behind that Chinese Democracy album that it's just, it was never going to live up to anybody's expectation. It just took on a mind of its own after 12 years of not coming out. But there's a song on there. I think it's an excellent song, and it's simply titled Better.
Yeah.
And I thought this was better for the Avalanche. You saw, like I said earlier, you saw the full 60. I thought you got behind in this game. You didn't sulk and you didn't let it get to you. You came back. You put up a fight. You put up some scrums. I thought you got decent goaltending. Could it be better? Sure. But overall, and you got the win. So it's better than what you just finished up in that that road trip by far. So, and like Madam Battleaxe said, what's coming to town doesn't care about what you've just been going through. And I would venture to guess what's coming to town in Vancouver is looking at you still, even as you're struggling a little bit, as you still have to go through the Avalanche, because while Vancouver's been doing excellent this year, they haven't won anything yet. So they're not going to hoist anything up just because they've had a good 50 some games of the season. They still probably have that mindset of, we have to go through teams like Vegas. We have to go through teams like Colorado to get where they want to go. They're going to come in and try to stake their claim. So
they saw it happen to Boston last year. You got to beat these teams like this.
Yep. And we will talk about that tomorrow a little bit more in detail, what to expect there. But until then, that's going to wrap it up for today. So thank you for tuning in and making this your first listen of the day. That is always appreciated, everybody. So for Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan, I am Chris Maselli. This is the Locked On Avalanche podcast. We'll see you guys tomorrow.